Why does the unthinkable change into reality? We are all designed to function at our absolute best, which is one of the most amazing aspects about being human. It is an essential component of being human. Getting our biology to work for us rather than against us is what I mean by that. This notion is not fresh. The amazing thing about education, according to William James, is making our nervous system our ally rather than our opponent. He meant our biology and brain when he said our nervous system, right? We all have so much more potential than we realize. When we hear that something impossible has been accomplished, we begin to consider it. Following that, you start to wonder, well, what would it look like if I did it? You then begin to consider how would you do it? How would you instruct it? And you think, wow, that's far out. I suppose it's plausible. In psychology and neuroscience, there is a concept known as the Bannister effect. This is the notion that before something is possible, you must first believe it is possible. It bears Roger Bannister's name. The first person to finish a mile under 4 minutes was Roger Bannister. Additionally, this was a wonderful, insane impossible before he accomplished it. On May 6, a British medical student named Roger Bannister, who ran a mile in 3 minutes, 59 seconds, and 4/10 of a second, achieved sporting fame. They genuinely believed the initial perpetrator would perish as a result. It was completely impractical. The first 4-minute mile is run by Bannister. Then someone breaks his record a month later. And then someone breaks that new record a few months later. Teenagers have done it in just 5 years. This forces you to ask, what the hell happened? Right? The physical prerequisites for running a sub 4-minute mile remain the same. The mental framework we've created around the feat is the only thing that has altered. Previously unthinkable things are now considered feasible. And while we do so, the brain begins to imagine possibilities and asks, well, what would that look like? After that, you start posing queries. What would you do, then? How would you instruct it? And so it gains a little bit more likelihood. It basically asserts that there is an extremely close link between our psychology and body. And if we can pre-wire our brains with the behaviors we will eventually engage in, you're going to experience dopamine from pattern matching when we actually begin to perform those patterns. It might encourage flow in us. Additionally, flow is a state of consciousness where our performance and well-being are both at their peak. Buddha, who first used the German word Rausch, which meaning to be full with delight, is the source of this concept. Actually, Nietzsche wrote about flow. Although William James studied the subject, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is frequently cited as the founder of flow psychology. He then traveled the globe, speaking with people about the moments in their lives when they felt their greatest and gave their best efforts. People said the same thing wherever he went. When I'm at my best, when I'm feeling my best, when I'm performing at my best, I'm in this altered state of consciousness where every move, every decision I make seems to flow effortlessly, precisely, smoothly from the last, they added. Thus, that is where the word flow originates. Actually, it's yet another phenomenological account of the condition. In fact, flow feels fluid. Psychologists ask, was there total attention on the task at hand? While determining whether you were in the zone. Has action and awareness converged? Did self disappear? Did time stretch out? And we've all had this experience, right? You become so engrossed in what you are doing that 5 hours seem to pass in just a few minutes when you look up. What we experience internally is a sense of control since we don't perceive peak performance as a sensation. The capacity to exert control over things that we typically cannot. A basketball player who is in the zone describes how the hoop suddenly appears to be the size of a hula hoop. Additionally, both mental and physical performance across the board soar. Every time we witness the seemingly improbable becoming reality, overall flow begins to appear. Productivity, inspiration, flow, and occasionally benchmark levels of 500% are all skyrocketed. And that seems like an astronomically large amount. And if it didn't agree with all the other findings, it would be quite suspect. For instance, the Department of Defense examined soldiers who were learning while they were in flow. It turns out that while we're in flow, we can learn anything by 240 to 500% faster than usual. When in flow, we observe a 400 to 700% increase in creative output. Strength, stamina, and endurance will be amplified on the physical side through flow. Perhaps you're thinking, what the hell? Why would one mental state make all these diverse things louder? Like, what's happening? When you consider that flow was shaped by evolution, it almost seems absurd. Right, the main driving force behind evolution is scarcity. Resources become limited. There are two ways to approach that, which is the main force behind evolution. We can engage in conflict over limited resources, run or avoid becoming someone else's resources, or we can cooperate, be inventive, and create new resources. Everything that flow magnifies is this. Humans are all capable of flow. In fact, common to the majority of mammals and unquestionably to all social animals. Therefore, each of us contains all the systems that make flow. Everything we require to fight, run, get resourceful, work together, and create new resources is what we are receiving. The biggest lesson I've learned from researching peak performance for 30 years is that flow is something we're all hardwired for and that it greatly amplifies our own potential.